So in this video, we are going to discuss about aggregate planning. So let us understand this with the help of an example. Suppose there is a car manufacturing company. So it is producing car and you have a sales forecast for this particular for the next month. Let it be 500 cars. So 500 cars mean it can include hatchback, sedan, all type models of car. And you have a particular inventory. Okay, so let the period be, instead of 1 month, let it be 1 year. You have an inventory. For example, you need engines, crankshaft, sparklers, etc. All sort of inventories. You are maintaining an inventory to meet the demand of 500 cars. That is the forecast. Okay, sometimes it can change, and you are employing a lot of manpower for this. Considering this much forecast, we need to manufacture these many cars. So that means you are making a plan about what is the total inventory level, what should be the manpower, and what is the sales forecast, etc. That means you need to plan all the operations according to manufacture these cars. So suppose suddenly the demand changes to maybe some 800 cars, then you need to ramp up the production. That means you need to acquire more inventory, employ more manpower, and you need to schedule the operations in a different way, or schedule the operations faster, etc. So all these comes under aggregating planning. So these planning operation, that means these aggregate, because you are not focusing on a particular model, you are calculating aggregately what should be the production, what should be the aggregate production, and what should be the inventory level, what should be the manpower level. So all these comes under aggregate planning. So aggregate planning is the process of developing, analyzing, and maintaining a preliminary approximate schedule of overall operations of the organization. So it mainly deals with overall operations. Maintaining a preliminary approximate schedule. When should all the operations start? The aggregate plan generally contains targeted sales focus, just like we have the 500 cars. What should be the production level, and what should be the inventory level, and how much backlogs you have. That means you commit to supply a product at a later stage. That is called backlog. We will see in detail. And this schedule is intended to satisfy the demand forecast at a minimum cost. So this is the aim of aggregate planning. That means to meet the demand forecast at a minimum cost. In simple terms, aggregate planning is an attempt to balance capacity and demand in such a way that the costs are minimized. Okay, that means let us take the case of this car manufacturing company once more. So that means you estimate the demand is 500 cars, but the actual production is only 300 cars. How will you match up these capacity and demand? So you can ramp up the production to maybe to 500 cars, but that is quite difficult. Or you can commit to supply the car at a later stage. Maybe after 6 months, the demand may come down to 300 cars or 100 cars. In that case, you are overproducing. So that means you are overproducing 200 cars. You can supply this car at that time. So there are several strategies which we will see in detail. So basically, aggregate planning is about balancing the capacity and demand. So this is the most important point, balancing capacity and demand. The term aggregate is used because planning at this level includes all resources in the aggregate. For example, as a product line or family. That means in the case of a car, there are several models of car. We are not going to that level. We are on aggregate level. What is the amount of material needed to manufacture these cars? Okay. So aggregate resources could be total number of workers, hours of machine time, or tons of raw material. Okay, we are not focusing on a particular type of product, we are focusing on the total manufacture. And aggregate units of output could include gallons, feet, pounds of output, as well as aggregate units appearing in service industries such as hours of service delivered, number of patients seen, etc. For the take the case of an hospital, we are not focusing on the separate department. What is the total number of patients that visit the hospital? Or the take the case of banking, what is the total number of customers that is visiting? For in the case of a manufacturing, let us take the total biscuit manufacturing, we are focusing on the total biscuits, not we are not focusing on the type of biscuits, we are focusing on the total number of biscuits that is produced, etc. So aggregate planning does not distinguish between sizes, colors, features, so forth. Just like that we have discussed in the case of a car for a textile manufacturing plant also. So it produces a lot of types of dresses, but we are focusing on the total dresses or total garments that is produced. For example, with automobile manufacturing, aggregate planning would consider the total number of cars planned for and not the individual models, colors, or options. When units of aggregation are difficult to determine, for example, when the variation in output is extreme, equivalent units are usually determined. That means in the case of a car, we will take one standard car, standard unit of car. Or in the garments also, we will take one standard unit. How many standard units of that product is manufactured? These equivalent units could be based on value, cost, worker hours, or some similar measures. So, how much manpower is required to produce one standard unit of car or standard unit of a product? What is the total value in that? Like that. So, what are the factors affecting aggregate planning? So, complete information about available production facility and raw material. This is the most important thing that is you need for aggregating planning. Okay, that is what is available raw material, what are the production facilities, machines, etc. And a solid demand forecast covering the medium range period. So aggregate planning is not for the long range period, it is mainly focusing on the small medium range period. Okay, so you need a solid demand forecast for that. So financial planning with respect to production cost, which includes raw material, labor, inventory planning, etc., are needed. And organization policy regarding labor management, quality management, etc. So these are all needed because you need to adjust the laborers. Sometimes you need to fire and hire. So there is another way of managing the demand and balancing the demand and the capacity. So these are all needed. So what is about organization policy? Can we fire the employees easily? Can we hire easily, etc.? So financial planning also is noted with respect to the production cost is also needed. So now let us discuss about